Yo, guys, you are about to hear a dope interview with Gary Vaynerchuk's trainer, actually, Jordan Syatt. So he runs Syatt Fitness. He is a world record powerlifter. He's done a bunch of cool shit. He's trained with a lot of cool, big names in the industry, a lot of people we look up to. And now he's freaking training Gary Vaynerchuk, which you guys probably hear us talk about all the damn time on the podcast, essentially. So really, really pumped for you guys to hear this one.
You know what it's interesting too is because I follow a lot of what like Gary does, and I watch the Daily V, and I knew that he made a transition from his old trainer Mike Vacanti to now training with Jordan, and I did look him up, which is like I'm like doing a little reflection here and like, dude, like, why didn't you do that? So I didn't even really know much about him. This was a cool opportunity for me to kind of just listen, learn from somebody who's had kind of like a freakish start in the industry. I mean, he
Yeah,
started at a really young age. He trained with Louis Simmons at Westside Barbell, trained with Eric Cressy, who we've studied as well. Super smart guy, and then created the successful online business, and now is training with Gary Vaynerchuk, one of the most influential people in the world, pretty
yeah.
much on social. So, yeah, incredible interviews. Short, but gold.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what? Like for anybody out there, like take that as an example. Like Theo just said, he didn't even realize he didn't go follow him, right? I know that I started following Mike Vacanti because I saw him in a daily V. I was like, oh, who's this guy? He's got to be
Right.
somebody if he's working with Gary. And then I was following him, and then he posted about how he's handing the torch off to Jordan, and then I was like, okay, who's this guy? And I think it just goes to show too, like not only who do you surround yourself with, because obviously Mike knew of Jordan, so he reached out and was like, hey, like Gary needs a new trainer. I think you'd be a great fit, and that's how he got that opportunity. But also in my mind, I follow Jordan now, and I'm like, man, this guy's on point with hustle, with his business aspect, with all these different
Most
things.
definitely.
And part of me was like, oh, Gary taught him all this stuff. But once you listen to him talk, you actually kind of realize that he was headed down the right track and he was already like Gary in a lot of aspects. And that's probably why their kind of worlds collide. And it just goes to show, like, you attract what you put out. You know what I mean? Like, your energy is contagious and you're going to attract those who have similar energy. And that goes negative and positive. You
I
know what I mean?
agree. And I think that this is going to be a great episode, not just for fitness professionals who want to learn more about how to build a successful business and hear more about Jordan's story, but from a client's perspective too, because not only do those practices, obviously go into the fitness industry, but whatever you do as a professional, I guarantee some of the things that Jordan talks about in this interview you can implement as well.
Yeah, and just kind of boost your stuff. And real quick, you know what I wanted to say too is I think it was interesting hearing his perspective on so many different things he's experienced in different styles. Because, like I said to him, was like, man, Westside Barbell, the strongest gym in the world, to Eric Cressy, which is like performance kingdom. You know what I mean? Like the best moving people in the sports industry. And I think like you have to have a balance of things and know what you're chasing. And this is gonna sound funny, but I was watching Vikings last night, right? And one of Ragnar's sons is a crippled, and they don't have crutches and wheelchairs back then, obviously. So he's like got a monster upper body. He just crawls his way around, and he was trying to create these like crutches or stilts for his legs, and he was getting frustrated. And he said, "I'm not a normal boy. I just want to be a normal kid." And Ragnar, his father, the king, ripped off these crutches and fucking threw them in the ocean. And at first, I'm like, "Damn, that's messed up." And he looks at his son. And he goes, "You will never be like everybody else. Once you realize that, greatness will happen." And he walked off. And I was just like, I had an epiphany because I was like, man, when you stop chasing everybody else's result or everybody else's goal or trying to be like the person next to you or be like everybody else, that's when nothing good happens. And when you embrace who you are and what you actually want, I think like that's really when greatness happens. You know what I mean? And he chased powerlifting, and that was his thing, and it led him to where he is now because he didn't focus on everybody else, right? And I think that's huge. And I had a massive insight. I actually wrote a cool newsletter about Vikings this morning that was just all about Vikings. And I mean, you know, I'm obsessed with that show, but huge, powerful lesson. And I kind of related that to the conversation we were having with him.
Man, it sounds very similar to The Alchemist, actually.
Yeah, 100%. Actually, yeah, yeah. And great book too. And I know we both read that probably like 5 or 6 times, easily.
Yeah.
So before we rant on too much longer, guys, check out the podcast, listen to it, share it for us, like the Facebook page, do all that good stuff while you can. You're really gonna like this episode. today we have Jordan Syatt on the podcast with us. He is he's actually Gary Vaynerchuk's coach right now. He does a lot of online coaching. He's a world record powerlifter and apparently a 27th degree black belt in chugging coffee. So we'll have to figure out a little more about all that. So Jordan, why don't you kind of introduce yourself now and tell the listeners about who you are?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. And I'm sorry I don't have my screen on. I'm driving right now, but I'm actually in the middle of drinking a cup of coffee. So I promise I do hold that black belt. I mean, that's basically it. I coach Gary. My background is in powerlifting growing up. I was a wrestler growing up and transferred into powerlifting. And it's my career working with a lot of powerlifters, but now I've transferred much more into more just people who basically their goals revolve around they want to look good and they want to be stronger and they want to feel good and just be overall very healthy. It's like not just like straight up powerlifters, but mostly just people want to look good naked and get strong.
Cool, man. So when did you actually get into all this? Because I've listened to a lot of your stuff before, and if I'm correct, you actually got into this at an extremely young age as far as like training people. So how did that start out?
Yeah, so I started wrestling when I was 8, and then that was like my life. That was everything that I cared about. That was all I did. And then from there, I got into, when I went to high school, I made varsity as a freshman, and I had to cut a lot of weight as a freshman just to be on varsity and to compete at a high level. So basically, when I started learning how to cut weight, I had to learn how to pay attention to nutrition and stay strong for performance. So by like 14, I actually ended up getting my first personal training job, which was like outrageous. It should not have like really happened, but it did. And I'm very grateful that it did because it really sort of catapulted my desire for it. And like I started learning a decade before most people do.
Yeah, no kidding. That's super early to start coaching people. So how did you even get your first client?
Well, so what happened was I knew that like I didn't know enough. So I got really into kettlebells because my wrestling coach, really good guy, was very into kettlebells and I wanted to learn more. So I searched for a kettlebell gym in the Boston area because that's where I grew up. And I found one about 15, 20 minutes away from my house. And I emailed them. I was like, listen, I will scrub your floors. I'll take the trash out. I'll do whatever I need to do as long as I can learn from you. And it started out as an internship and it quickly just turned into them teaching me and giving me clients. And it wasn't like a normal gym. Like it wasn't like a commercial gym. You had to go in, and if you were going to train there, you were with a coach one-on-one. And fortunately, I just happened to find two incredibly generous and science-based coaches right off the bat there. And I sort of skipped most people's phase where most people have the really stupid training phase of like doing outrageously dumb stuff. And I was sort of just immediately thrust right into very science-based coaching from a very young age. And I did stupid stuff too, like absolutely had a stupid phase, but I think my stupid phase was less drastic than a lot of people's when they first started.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will spin their wheels in the gym doing just machine after machine, and all they know is a big box gym. And I know that's how I started reading muscle mags and stuff like that. It wasn't until a lot of time and searching until I found Luca and the gym we're at, Bigger Ground, which is similar to what you're talking about. You really can't come train here unless you're with a specific group or a specific trainer right then. So I'm assuming this journey kind of kept leading you on, and then eventually you ended up at Westside Barbell. Am I correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Tell us your experience with that.
Oh man, that was amazing. That was absolutely incredible. Like I think there's a lot of stigma around it depending on who you talk to. I mean, plain and simple, Louis is the most generous guy in the world. He's like a father to me. He's incredible. He's very smart. He's the godfather of powerlifting. Basically, I was starting to compete in powerlifting, and I was a lightweight. Obviously, I wrestled at 103 in high school, and I was competing in. I had my first powerlifting competition. I was 127 when I was like 20, or I think I was 20 or 19 years old, and Louis had put something out recently because if you don't know Westside, it's quite literally the strongest gym in the world, and most of their guys squat over 1,000 pounds. So Louis ended up calling me when I was at college. I'll never forget this. I still have the voicemail on my cell phone. He ended up calling me, and he was like, "Hey Jordan, like we'd love to have you come out and like just see what it's like, see if it's a good fit over the summer." And because I had started to make a name for myself as a lightweight in the powerlifting world, and I went out there, and he put me through some grueling training sessions over my April vacation freshman year in college. And then he was like, "I'd love for you to come back for the summer." And I went back that summer, and it was like 4 months of the craziest, most intense training. We trained 11 times a week bare minimum, and my total went up 300 pounds over the course of
That's
those 4
fucking
months.
insane. We were literally just having a conversation last night with Luca, and he was talking about how like Louis' back, like literally, kind of just like
Exploded.
erupted, right? Just because of, the amount of stress that, he's kind of put on his body. But that's kind of what, not necessarily what Westside's all about, right? Like, I mean, obviously you're not just sending people in there to get hurt, but I mean, you guys are charging hard, and obviously it takes a lot of hustle to become a world record power lifter. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Louis, and he'll be the first to admit it, is like, I mean, he was training hard and intense at the time he was like 12 years old. He was carrying like massive of containers of cement upstairs, just doing stupid, like outrageous stuff. And I mean, he's in his late 60s or something right now. And at this point, I mean, he's in his late 60s, early 70s, and he still deadlifts over 700 pounds.
That's crazy.
There comes a point where it's just like, if you do that too much, too long, for as long as he has, you're going to end up doing some damage to your body. But most people think that's what Westside preaches, where it's just like, go to destroy your body. It's really not. It's mostly like Louis just does it because he says powerlifting saves his life. Like, that's what he lives for. But for everyday people, for most people, it's mostly like, do what makes you feel good. Do what lets you, like, helps you feel better, helps you enjoy life. And that's really what Westside does preach, or Louis preaches.
Did that kind of shape your business structure? Because obviously if you're training people like Gary Vee and a lot of the people you train online, whether they are powerlifting or competing in powerlifting, it seems like a lot of them, like you said at the beginning, are just really trying to feel good, look better naked, all that good stuff. So did that kind of give you a good lesson at an early age, like knowing how hard it is on your body and seeing what those guys turned out to be like? Did that change the kind of the shape of your coaching and your business?
100%, man. I mean, I think you're shaped by your experiences and like how you're brought up. So, I mean, I was very lucky I never was involved in aside from like very early on in my wrestling career, which I was involved in this early on, but aside from that, I was never really involved with anyone being like the no pain, no gain type people. It was very much like the people I was with are very much against that. It was like, no. It's like, you don't have to destroy your body to get results. Like, how about we just work on making you feel really good? So, I mean, that absolutely shaped my views. And then right after Westside, a couple months later, I trained at Cressy Performance. I interned there. And like, that was a whole nother, like, very similar situation where it's like, hey, we're training to achieve a result, not to get like to feel like a stimulus, not to like hurt you, not to be insanely sore, but to actually see a tangible result, and that result is improved performance. So when you switch your mindset from I'm trying to like get really sore or sweat a lot to I want to, at the end of the next 4 to 8 weeks, see a legit result, your training methods change.
Yeah. It almost seems like those are on opposite spectrums too. A lot of what I've learned from Cressy and all of his guys is just so much like breathing techniques and mobility and just feeling better in injury rehab. So, I mean, I can't have the spectrum of being able to learn how to get so unbelievably fucking strong from those guys at Westside to being able to perform so well with Cressy is probably just a great unity, essentially, of different coaching methods, right, to build what you do.
Well, you know what? Here's what's funny is they're actually very similar. Here's the thing. Cressy has pro baseball players in his gym, pro baseball players who are not power lifters, who are not wearing gear, who are not like training to be the strongest person. They're training to be the best athlete. They're pulling well over 500 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a little bit of weight. And then you have guys at Westside who are like 280, 320 pounds, and they're doing 48-inch box jumps with weights. And like they're athletic as hell, but they can also squat over 1,000 pounds. And even though Eric will talk about, diaphragmatic breathing and he'll really discuss the anatomy of it, if you go to Westside and you watch what they do, they all do that stuff. It's not what they're writing about. It's just not what they're necessarily creating content on. And the reality is this, like Eric uses conjugated periodization. A lot of times, like what we think is that the only people who use conjugate is Louis. Louis's conjugate method is not the only form of conjugated periodization. And that's a really important distinction to make. Louis's conjugate method is his version of conjugated periodization, but there's many different forms. And like if you look at Eric Cressy, who does lateral Haydns and sprints and jumps, that's his dynamic effort work. And then he goes into his max effort work, which might not be going for a 1-rep max, but 3 sets of 5 is max effort work if you think about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. So how I'm curious as if I don't know if you train more people similar to Gary or anybody that's in that setting. I mean, we see a lot of people that are either traveling a lot for work, or a lot of my online clients travel a lot, or they're just their jobs, they're constantly sitting. What is different about like when you train people like Gary? How do you go about that stuff? Do you still do a lot of strength work with those guys, or is it more about movement and just getting them out of painful positioning in their body and everything like that?
It's a combination of everything. So, I mean, earlier today, Gary deadlifted 225. He repped it out, like, no problem.
Nice.
And, like, that's not world record powerlifter, but for a 41-year-old dude who's just trying to be strong and athletic and feel good, like, that's pretty damn good, especially for a guy with, like, an amazing, like, especially for a guy who's, like, insanely busy and can only train for, like, maybe 45 minutes to an hour at a time at most, and he's not getting tons of sleep, like, to be able to deadlift 225 for reps is pretty damn good, and especially he's not been training for that long.
Right.
But then we also focus, like, the first 30 minutes of our training sessions are just based on soft tissue quality and good movement patterns and, like, getting more mobility. So, like it always depends on the person, but yeah, like I basically always take the same principles and apply them in the way that works best for the individual.
All right. So let's transition into kind of back to the whole West Side, and I'm really interested in how you made the transition from West Side to Cressy, and then and now obviously you're training Gary Vaynerchuk, because I'm very interested in the hustle. So would you mind elaborating on that a little bit and talk about that transitional period from kind of place to place for you?
So the transition specifically from West Side to Cressy, like how I did that?
Right.
Well, so I mean, I was very young, man. Like I was in college, and basically, I went from West Side at like I think I was like 20 years old, and then that was over the summer, and then that coming winter, I had like a 7 or 8 week winter break, and so I just wrote Eric an email, and he was aware of me because I had started writing content, and he'd probably seen me my lifting, and I was like, hey man, I have almost a 2-month break from school for winter break. Can I come in and intern with you? And he was like, absolutely, come on in. And my very first day, they were like understaffed because they were in a transition period, and it was their busiest day ever in their history, with the most professional baseball players coming in to date at that year. And basically, the major transition was at Westside, like the goal was always max strength. Like we did other things, we did diaphragmatic breathing, we did mobility, like we did like athletic performance stuff, but like the end goal was always max strength. Whereas at Cressy, it was a lot more like athletic performance, which is a little bit different. Like, and then also from a coaching perspective, a major focus on anatomy and physiology, a major focus on understanding the body. And I'll never forget this. One of my first days there, Eric came up to me and he was like, hey, go write all the muscles that attach to the scapula on the whiteboard. And I'm like a 20-year-old kid, and like there are 17 of them. And I just looked at him, I laughed, and he was like, no, I'm serious, go do it. And so one of the things that really stuck out to me for the rest of my life was after I could only name 9 of them, he was like, how can you know what the body does if you don't know what the body is? And like for me, that was a major turning point in my career as a coach. And he was like, I need you to go back to school and enroll in extra gross anatomy courses, because until you know and really understand what the body is, you can't understand truly how to program for it and understand what it can actually do. And that's what I
Right.
did. I went back, I enrolled in several extra gross anatomy courses. It was one of the best things I ever did for my coaching knowledge. And that was the major difference, where Westside, it was for me mostly focused on programming specifically and focused on understanding the science of strength training. At Cressy, it was much more anatomy and physiology and understanding the human body.
Wow. That's actually like really, really powerful lesson, man. That's cool.
Yeah. Seriously.
So I'm curious, what you had a, I mean, obviously you went to school for this stuff. You were training at a very young age. You were a competitive powerlifter, wrestler, all this stuff. You interned at these really dope big spots. What was your game plan at the beginning? Did you have a game plan? I mean, right now I follow a lot of your business stuff as well, and you pretty much do online coaching aside from Gary, and it sounded like that was your plan from the get-go. So is that kind of how you've been doing it all these years, or did you have a different plan at the beginning and it just kind of veered a different way once you met all these influential people?
You know, it's funny. So when I I went to Westside, and when I went to Westside, there like the amount of bloggers and writers online was a very small fistful of people. It was like Eric Cressy, Mike Robertson, Joel Jamieson, like Dan John, Jim Wendler, a very small fistful of people who were just outrageous coaches and lifters, unbelievable. And I loved that, and I wanted to be like one of them. I wanted to be an influencer, and my goal was to be an influencer, to help people, to teach them. That was my goal. It wasn't like to make money or a business. It was literally, I want to be one of the people that can really provide a ton of value online. So when I went to Westside, I ended up starting my website, and only because my buddy JC Dean, I don't know if you know him, he had started his website, and he was like, listen, man, we need to get you one. So I got mine up, and just all I focused on was writing articles. That was it. I basically just like copied the formula that I saw Eric Cressy doing and Mike Robertson and Brett Contreras, and basically was like, all right, all I'm going to do is basically take everything I learned from Louis and Eric Cressy and Martin Birkin and Lyle McDonald and Alan Aragon, and I'm just going to start writing about it and start writing about my experiences with clients and start writing about my experiences with what I'm learning, not understanding what was going to happen because I didn't know the influence of content marketing at the time. It wasn't a business decision. It was truly a professional, like, I want to help people decision. And without really knowing what was going on or why, I started to get people reaching out to me saying, like, hey, can you coach me? Hey, like, can you write me a program? And it sort of just steamrolled, like, out of nowhere. And once I saw the potential that from that, and once I saw like the volume of people coming to me for coaching and people asking like for me to take them on as an online client, that's when I really started to dig more into business and realize, like, wow, not only is this like a viable career, but it's like it can be an exceptionally lucrative career. And more importantly, you can help hundreds of thousands more people when you have attention and reach online. So that's really when I started to dive into that world, and understanding how to impact people and how to reach more people on the internet.
I think the common denominator with most successful people, especially in this industry, is just like what you were just talking about, is you talked a lot about, your experiences with those things, not just reading the information and then regurgitating it like you created it or like you're just some smart ass who knows everything, right? Like it sounds like you put all these tools together, you used them, you saw what worked, what didn't work, and you wrote about that stuff, and then you had people starting to come and look at you for coaching. I mean, I think that's awesome. I think that's a big takeaway for any fit pros who are listening to this. And I completely agree. And now, I mean, obviously you're working with Gary Vaynerchuk, and he talks a lot about patience and he looks at the bigger picture, which for him is buying the jets, right? With you being so young, how has that influenced your hustle?
Oh man, it's unbelievable, dude. It's unbelievable. And like, I'll tell you, like, I've learned a lot, not only about how to improve, but I've really, like, by watching Gary and watching sort of what's going on in the industry and watching, what he talks about, I'm starting to understand why I was able to do what I did without knowing what was going on. And what's going on, if there's any fit pros listening, this is really important. Most people say now they want to become an online coach because it's like, they don't say this, but they want to do it because they think they can make a lot of money and they can work from wherever they want, and it's going to be an easy thing, and they can just get people and write programs, and it's going to be like a wicked easy career, and they can work from the beach, right? And like the issue is this: they're getting into it because they want something for themselves, because they want to work from the beach, because they want to make a lot of money. And when you approach your business from the perspective of I want, that comes across in everything you do, and it doesn't bode well. People are going to, like, it's not going to pass the smell test. When you come at it from the perspective of I selflessly want to help as many people as possible, I want to give this information away for free, and as Gary says all the time, without the expectation of anything in return, that's when you end up getting more. The more you give, the more you get. And that is truly the most important takeaway. Is if you want to get into online coaching, great, by all means do it. But don't expect anything in return. You need to give and give and give and give, and not just for a week or a month or a year. Just like you tell your clients they have to be consistent with their training and nutrition for years, you have to be consistent with giving your content for years before you expect anything to happen.
I think that's like gold, because a lot of people, like you said, do want to jump into it, and it's the same thing with me. I was writing a free blog for 5 years before I even decided that I would accept money for programming online, and one thing I stole from you and talking about consistently putting out content and giving is, I don't remember what you called it, but you did a full year of like strong statuses or something like that, right? Where you posted some kind of fitness help on Facebook every single day. Well, I kind of took that from one of your emails that I read, and I've been doing that, and that's that has literally gotten me a couple clients since, just because I'm just giving. I don't even put any links for my coaching, right? It's simply a fit tip of the day, and I put a picture and I put a long status about how they can improve themselves. And I believe that was one of the first content, like, structured things you did before all this, right?
Yeah, and again, it wasn't a business strategy. It was called. I had a daily strength lesson, and I did it for 3 years, 5 days a week, literally Monday through Friday. Even when I was traveling, and even when I was in Israel and abroad and whatever, like every day I would wake up, like, but before the sun was up, and I would post 3 articles, for fitness articles for people to go read. I would post them on my Facebook, and then one strength lesson. And it could have been like a tip on how to improve your deadlift, or how to, make fat loss a little bit more comfortable, and how to like maybe stay more full when you're dieting, whatever it was. Literally 5 days a week, every day, 5 days a week for 3 years. I have like over like 1,000 of them. And I literally have them all saved in a PDF on my computer still. And even though I haven't done them in a while, but just like you said, I didn't go in and say, hey, here's this tip. By the way, like, do coaching with me. It was just give. And what happened was people eventually started knowing that when they came to my Facebook page every morning, they were going to get value from me. They were going to learn something. They could get better that day. And they started to trust me just because I was giving and giving and giving. And that is the foundation of a great business. That is the foundation of someone that, like, a coach that someone's going to want to hire because they trust you.
100%, man. 100%. Couldn't agree more. I love it. I'm getting a lot of good stuff out of your silver bullets and all that stuff that you post out. So I appreciate the content you're putting out as well.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely, man. I know you're on a tight schedule, so we want to get through one more question before we let you go, and it's a personality question. So here's the situation. You're on a plane and you're flying to Japan, so you got a ways to go, 10 plus hours. You have 2 seats next to you, and they're both empty. You can pick anyone to be in those seats with you, dead or alive, but they cannot be friends or family. Who are you sitting by?
Man, they can't be friends. Literally, I was about to say I'm with my buddy Mike Vacanti right now. I was going to say one of them is going to be Mike Vacanti because, like, I don't know if you guys know him. He's on theregimen.com. He was Gary's old coach, but when we work together, man, like, we work so hard it's stupid. But so it can't be a friend or family. Okay. All right. So actually, you know what? Number one, if I wasn't in the fitness industry, I would have been a history teacher 100%. So I'm going to say Abraham Lincoln in one seat because I would love to talk to him. I think that would be wicked freaking cool.
Okay.
And another one, let's see. Oh, man, that's really tough. Give me a second. I need to think about this. This is going to be good. I'm going to have Abraham. This is going to be a fun plane ride. Abraham Lincoln in one seat. And then we're going to have
Put him on the spot.
this is tough. Hold on. I need to think of an actually like a legit, like this is a good one to put in my seat. Oh man, this is a great question, guys.
We've never had somebody think so hard, man. I appreciate the concentration with this. This is good.
I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how it's a 10-hour, at least 10 hours left in this plane ride, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, you got to make this really good. You got Abraham Lincoln, then all right. You know what? I'm gonna sort of cheat on this one, but I would probably go with some type of family member that I've never met from a long time ago. I'd probably go with a descendant from a real a great grandfather that I haven't met, and I would just love to learn more about.
Dude, that's dope.
Yeah, that would be actually a really,
I like
really
that
dope
answer.
Good shit, man. Hey, well, we appreciate you jumping on the podcast, man. We know you're in a run, so we're gonna let you go. But thank you for your time so much. A lot of huge insights from you in this. So
big time.
If you have anything you can share as far as your website, your social links, shout them out so that people can follow you and get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my main website is syattfitness.com, SYATT-fitness.com. If you go to 101metabolicworkouts.com, that's where basically I give you 101 free metabolic workouts. And that's where my newest one. So if you want to go there and grab that for free, you're more than welcome to. And otherwise, if you have any questions or comments, hit me up on social media, Facebook, Instagram, just Syatt Fitness. Always happy to interact and help any way I can. And thank you guys for having me. This was a blast.
Absolutely,
of course, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
If you love the Mind vs. Muscle podcast, want more free content, and you want to support the movement, share this podcast and leave us a 5-star rating and review. To get your questions answered on the next episode, see the show notes for our social media handles and hashtag Mind vs. Muscle.